Okay, well, hopefully this audio isn't too horrible. I mean, if the background noises overtake what I'm saying because I have the mic kind of away from me, then that'll be nice because the lake noises are, pretty peaceful and serene as opposed to, my voice talking about Ohio sports. We'll get the elephant in the room right out of the way. The Deshaun Watson hearing is continuing. The league says at the beginning that it was pushing for an indefinite suspension, that he'd have to, reapply for re-entry at the end of the year. I don't think it'll be quite that. I mean, Sue Robinson will be hearing the case. I think I heard a report say that it's supposedly going to be, the hearing part of it's going to be done by the end of the week. Of course, Judge Sue Robinson will have to then deliberate and come out with her recommendation of a suspension, and then Roger Goodell can, base his suspension off of that or whatever. I don't think it's going to be the indefinite suspension that the NFL says it's pushing for. I think that's kind of a front, so when it's not that, the league can say, well, we tried, and then this is what, Sue Robinson recommended, so we had to compromise. But I do think it would still be long. I think it's going to be 10 games minimum, just because of what this has done to the image of the NFL, what this has done to, the Texans are getting, I don't think the league likes that this case is now dragging the Texans as an organization into this, one of their own. So I think it's going to be at least 10 games for the inconvenience factor alone. I still wouldn't be shocked if it's a full season. I just don't think it's going to quite reach the indefinite status that the NFL says it was. Be prepared. Even though, he did settle most of the cases, Deshaun Watson still has four sexual assault civil suits pending against him. Most of them were settled, but four of them still said they want to ride this out. So this is going to be a long, arduous. I think this is still weeks, at least a week away from having a definitive grasp on what his suspension is going to be, how this is all going to play out. I'm sick of hearing about Baker Mayfield maybe coming to play for the Browns. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. He said he's moving on. If the Browns don't trade him, he's just gonna be scratched every week that he's not playing. He's not gonna show up to training camp. The team will ask him to not show up, and Baker will say, "Okay, I won't show up." Even though if I was Baker, if I was really trying to force a trade and get released, I'd show up to everything that I could. I would just be a malcontent and try to stir the pot as much as possible, so the Browns either rush to trade. If I was Baker Mayfield, I'd try to make the Browns either rush to trade me or just cut me in general by just being as in their face as possible and just being the biggest attraction in the media that I could possibly be. But Baker Mayfield's handling this a little more professionally than I would, so props to him, I guess. I'm not like a huge Baker bro supporter or whatever, but I wasn't as big of a hater on him as other people were. Some good news in Ohio sports. The Columbus Crew are going to make, I think on Friday they're going to make their official statement, their official announcement or whatever on signing Cucho Hernandez from Watford, who was very recently relegated to the Champions League, but this is a big get from overseas. I think this is the largest transfer fee in team history and the 7th highest in MLS history. People on Twitter were, I don't know much about European soccer, but when I see people on, European soccer fans on Twitter going, "Oh, he's going to the MLS? Why would he do that?" This makes me feel like we're kind of getting a steal out of this. And even if he's only here for a couple years just to put up some stats and big numbers and then go back to Europe, that's fine. I think the report is that the deal lasts through 2025. So either the Crew are going to get a big transfer fee for him going back to Europe in the near future, or he has a few good years. I don't think he stays long term. He probably goes back to Europe if he plays like people are projecting him to. But whatever, that's good for me as a fan of the Crew. I don't care if he's here long term or not, just as long as he's here, for the here and now, where the Crew are trying to compete and get back in the playoffs and maybe trying to get another championship under the belt. But if he's coming here for however long it is, I'm glad he is. Speaking of new talent heading to Columbus, the NHL Draft is in about a week. And Yarmo, with the 12th and the 6th overall picks in the draft, has some interesting decisions. Do they go with Savoie or Gauthier? I think that's how you pronounce it. It's like a French name. I don't know. If either Juracek or Nemec falls down to 6, do they take a defenseman instead? What do they do with the 12th pick? Do they package those two to try to move up in the draft? Do they package one of the picks and maybe some of their winger prospects to try to shore up that D-line, maybe get an even more NHL-ready top 6 forward? And keep in mind the Minnesota Wild just got another first-round pick as well. I think they hold 19 and 24 now. Yeah, I think it's 19 and 24 now that they got the Kings' first-round pick. So maybe Jarmo trades the number 12 pick to the Wild for those two. If he thinks he can get something as good at 19 that he can at 12, maybe he tries to get another draft with 3 first-round picks. Could you imagine how crazy that would be if the Blue Jackets had 2 consecutive drafts with 3 first-round picks? That would be insane. So Jarmo definitely has some interesting options, but I think the most likely out of all of those is he just probably stays put. He probably drafts he definitely has to draft a center, at least in my opinion. I would draft at least 1 center with either one of those picks. I wouldn't be surprised if Jarmo went with 2 centers again and tried to shore up the defense through some trades or something. Maybe get a more of an enforcer type player. I don't necessarily think the Jackets need to acquire a goon or something, but they definitely need some physicality if they want to compete in the playoffs. I know the theory is, well, if you give a big guy who maybe isn't as skilled or as good a roster spot, that's taking a spot away from somebody who's a little better. But if you look at the playoffs and how the playoffs have, transpired, there's going to be hits that you just have to respond in some kind of way. You have to have somebody out there who can throw some bodies around. Maybe not, obviously don't no head hunting or board or anything, but you have to have somebody who's willing to rough it up when the other team starts some trouble, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to baseball, but I know that the Guardians had first place. They lost it. I think they lost it in the series to the Red Sox, but they have the Twins who are in first place now again. If they can win that series pretty convincingly, they can be, right back to where they were. If they keep walking off, the Twins in the 10th inning like Naylor just did, they'll be in good shape. Josh Naylor headbutting Tito Francona with his batting helmet on is pretty hilarious. That guy was fired up. He was ready to. If a guy headbutts a batting helmet, I think he can run through a brick wall. I think that's the conversion rate there. I don't think a brick wall would have stopped that guy after he walked him off. There were a couple of Buckeyes projected to go in the first round of the NBA draft. One of them did, with Malakai Branham going at number 20 to the Spurs, but EJ Liddell dropped all the way down to pick number 41. He went to the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm not sure what it was that caused him to drop. Maybe it was the fact that scouts weren't convinced that his game translated to the NBA as well as Branham's. Maybe they were concerned about maybe a body fat percentage or something. I'm not sure what it was, but either way, people were saying that the Pelicans got the steal of the draft, essentially. Maybe they did. Who knows? I definitely think he was better than the 41st pick. As a Cavs fan, I would have liked to see the Cavs take a chance on, both of those guys. I think they were looking for more of NBA-ready products than Branham and EJ Liddell both offered at their draft choices. So I understand why the Cavs passed them up, but, the Cavs drafting EJ Liddell would have been pretty cool, even though he would have been just stuck in the G League because they have a log jam of 7-foot-tall big guys anyway. I guess I haven't talked about the Reds. I mean, what's there to say? They suck ass. I mean, the Reds just suck ass. They were built to suck ass. They do suck ass. They haven't sucked as much as they did in the beginning of the season. They're still last in the league, but not by 10 games or whatever. But yeah, they're pretty horrible. They were built to be that way. The Castellinis took a lot of crap early in the year, and rightfully so. Not much else to say about the Reds other than they suck. So yeah, that was about it. If you'd like to tell me all the ways that I was wrong in this video and an idiot, then you can just tell me in the comments. I don't really care. I'll read them and cry or something. I don't know. If you want, I think my head looks dented in here. I have a story about that I don't know if I really want to get into yet, but my head does look really dented in here for a reason. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. I don't know. And thanks for watching the video.